I don't know what faction of that group we're ticking off right now with our behavior and going in there and saying the oil's now ours, we're gonna sell it, we'll give you a piece of it, but we're taking it. So I really do worry about unintended consequences, and I object to empire. I much prefer the way we started with the original George Washington. Let's avoid foreign entanglements. Let's not cozy up too much to any one country. Let's enjoy the beautiful blessing of the two huge oceans on either side. I don't want to have to take care of Venezuela. I really don't.
During an interview with the New York Times, President Donald Trump says that we could be taking care of Venezuela for years. Now, he referred to it as overseeing Venezuela. So I don't want anyone to mistake this as the US actually looking out for the people of Venezuela. But Megyn Kelly is right to be concerned here. But before we get to the details of what Trump has to say about all of this and more of what Kelly had to say about her view of what the Trump administration just did in Venezuela, Cenk, your 2 cents?
Yes. Amazing developments, because now it started with Epstein files, then it went to Israel. Now it's gone to, wait, are we sure we should attack Venezuela? And that is the 2 biggest right-wing hosts in the country saying that. Wow, wait till you see the rest.
Yep. Now I want to talk a little bit about President Trump's comments about what just went down in Venezuela. He's speaking to reporters over at the New York Times. And this is what he had to say about our involvement with Venezuela. How long is the US going to be in this entanglement? Well, here's what Trump had to say. Only time will tell, he said, when asked how long the administration will demand direct oversight of the South American nation with the hovering threat of American military action from an armada just offshore. So Trump's comments came hours after Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke to Congress, in which he outlined a plan to take control of selling Venezuela's oil indefinitely. And there's allegedly some sort of 3-phase plan that the Trump administration is pursuing here. Now, here's what Trump had to say about that. We will rebuild it in a very profitable way. And what he's referring to there is rebuilding the infrastructure in order to allow for American oil companies to extract the crude oil in Venezuela. So that's what he's talking about. And when he says we, he means us, the US taxpayers, we're gonna pay to build that infrastructure on behalf of the oil companies who will then profit from it. The rest of his statement was, we're going to be using oil and we're going to be taking oil. We're getting oil prices down and we're going to be giving money to Venezuela, which they desperately need. I wouldn't hold my breath on the giving money to Venezuela part, but who knows, maybe. Now, during the interview, Trump did not give a precise time range for how long the US would remain in Venezuela's, essentially serve as Venezuela's political overlord. And so he said, would it take 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer? Trump's response was, I would say much longer. Trump appeared far more focused on the capture mission than the details of how to navigate Venezuela's future. He declined to say what might prompt him to put American forces on the ground in the country. He simply said, quote, I wouldn't want to tell you that. I'm sure you wouldn't. Now, would he send troops to Venezuela if the current regime, it's still the same regime, just a different leader, decided to block him from access to their oil? What if they refuse to kick out Russian and Chinese personnel, as the Trump administration has been demanding of the regime? He says, I can't tell you that. I really wouldn't want to tell you that. But they're treating us with great respect. As you know, we're getting along very well with the administration that is there right now. And by the way, I was listening to the Drop Site show, and in it, they were talking about how there were definitely a few officials within the current Venezuelan regime who was essentially defected in a way to make it easier for the Trump administration to capture Nicolas Maduro. And just yesterday, Trump demanded more money from the Pentagon as if we're not already spending a tremendous amount on military spending. So after this is what he posted on Truth Social. After long and difficult negotiations with senators, congressmen, secretaries, and other political representatives, I have determined that for the good of our country, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times, our military budget for the year 2027 should not be $1 trillion, which was insane enough. He wants it to be $1.5 trillion, and then claims this will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to. Remember when they were pretending like they were going to cut the Pentagon budget? You know, all that waste, fraud, and abuse when it comes to an arm of the federal government that has failed every single audit imaginable. It's just incredible.
Yeah. So it was at 850 billion. They added 150 billion already. These are the people who said they'd cut the Pentagon and waste, fraud, and abuse. Enormous liars, the Trump administration. Even their own voters wanted cuts. Now they're saying, oh, no, we're gonna double it. We're gonna take it from, around 800 to now 1.5 trillion. What is that? Okay, so the most fraudulent, the biggest waste there is in the Pentagon. They can't ever pass an audit. They say half the money they get, they don't know where it goes. I don't know where it is. What do you mean you don't know where it is? So now we're not gonna know where $750 billion is. They're never gonna pass an audit. It's a robbery, an absolute robbery. And are we doing it for defense? No, they literally changed the name of the Defense Department, the Department of War, from the guy who ran as anti-war. Right now, they're having conversations, very literal, and they're saying it publicly about invading 5 more countries. So Venezuela we just did. So they're saying we got to go back to Iran. We got to do Greenland. And Trump's saying, yes, no, I am seriously considering military options in Greenland. We're not trolling anymore. This isn't trolling, this isn't joking. Actually thinking about invading a fellow NATO country. Have we lost track of how insane that is? How ludicrous that is? I know the great majority of the country hasn't, but apparently some have. And also Colombia, Mexico, and Cuba, anti-war, and constantly like, I didn't win a peace prize, I should win a peace prize. And I'm gonna kill them, and I'm gonna murder them, and I'm gonna attack them, and everything is mine. Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back. And he says about the oil that all the proceeds are gonna run through him. Whoa, what is that? What do you mean they're gonna run through you?
We know what that is. We know damn well what that is. It's amazing. Give me the loot. That's who Trump is, okay? Now I wanna get back to Megyn Kelly briefly because she said some other really fascinating things. I wanna give you her full thoughts on her view of what the Trump administration is up to in Venezuela. She did elaborate on Tucker Carlson's show. Let's take a look.
You said right after Maduro got grabbed that you weren't exactly sure, you were skeptical. What are your views of it now?
Yeah, still skeptical. I said, I'm not on a green light posture on this. I'm not on a red light, I'm on a yellow. And I don't love it, I gotta be honest. I, first of all, would prefer we use our military defensively and not offensively, which may be anachronistic, but I'm not really in the mindset at all, especially now with 3 kids who are 2 out of 3 in their teens, of being super bellicose in our language or our approach to the world. And I don't really see this as necessary. I don't see this one as necessary. I understand what Trump is saying is the reason, and I too appreciate the honesty. I actually appreciate that we're not cloaking it in democracy like we wanted the oil. He was really explicit. And we didn't want them playing footsie with China and Iran and Cuba. Okay, so at least he's being honest about it. But I worry very much about unintended consequences.
Yeah, I mean, the unintended consequences typically do happen after these types of military operations, and it remains to be seen what the consequences will be moving forward. We don't really know what Trump's plan is. The Trump administration isn't really clear about what they intend to do moving forward. And so, and by the way, it does seem like increasingly more and more people are getting frustrated with this situation, not just the anti-war crowd, but Cenk, also the neoliberal crowd who's upset that Trump didn't carry out what they really wanted, which was a full-blown regime change. And so it is interesting to see he is getting jabbed from multiple sides right now. I don't fall in line at all with the neoliberal camp. I don't think that we should be in the business of regime change. And oftentimes these regime change wars leads to a power vacuum, and oftentimes you could end up with a regime that's even worse than the one that you're trying to get rid of. So I actually commend Megyn Kelly for wanting to be a lot more cautious on her views following this military operation in Venezuela. And I want to go to one more video before I hear your thoughts, because if you're wondering, well, wasn't Megyn Kelly one of the Fox anchors that was like totally cheerleading the war in Iraq and other, regime change wars in past administrations? Yeah, you're right about that. But it turns out that she's somewhat remorseful, and so is Tucker Carlson. Take a look.
So that's, I guess, my concern. If like all of a sudden you become permanently at war, your own population in some ways becomes the government's enemy, I've noticed.
Well, look, we were, in a way, a part of that during the Iraq war.
Yeah, I know.
At Fox, right? Like, they didn't allow, and we didn't allow people who were criticizing the war a platform. We mocked them and made fun of them because I think we thought it was our duty to defend the war. And I see Fox News doing that right now. There's not really a skeptical voice over there about what we're doing in Venezuela. And I'm fine with the people who support the Venezuela move. Then I've been having them on my show all week and giving the president his due to hear what are the detractors saying and what are the supporters saying. And that's up for the audience to make up their mind. If they disagree with me on my stance, that's fine. It's great. No more power to them. But, that's not the job when you're on Fox News. And when I was there, I'll speak for myself, it was very clear to me what the job was, which was to root for it, to defend it, period.
So Cenk, I'm so curious about your thoughts, because I've been saying this about Tucker Carlson on multiple occasions. He's been, openly remorseful for the way that he handled the lead up to the Iraq war as the Iraq war was happening. And now we've got Megyn Kelly rethinking her views on foreign policy. What do you think?
It's an awesome development, a wonderful development. I mean, I didn't think I'd live long enough to say Megyn Kelly talking about the unintended consequences of war and how we should be way more careful and we should actually just protect our homeland instead of going on all of these military adventures. And it's super clear why Tucker and Megyn have turned around on these issues. And we're not the ones hypothesizing about it. They're literally saying it on air. You just heard her say it. We showed you Tucker saying it before. Why? We were right. Fox News is corporate media, and Fox News wants war. They want war because it makes money for the donor class. And so there's a lot of different reasons they want war. Fox News is massively Israel first, neocon. And by the way, to Anna's earlier point, there's almost no difference between the neocons and the neoliberals. So they both represent the elites, the establishment, the uniparty. They both want war. They both support Israel. They both support the defense contractors, the oil companies, etc. The neocons and the neoliberals are here to rob us. And part of the robbery is you got to get people to hate each other. And so there's another secret, wonderful part of this, which is that the Great Awakening is beginning to get people to realize not just that we're getting robbed. And again, guys, it's not, look, we talk a lot about Israel, and we certainly have over the last few years because they were committing a genocide and keep asking for endless money from us. But it's not about Israel. The awakening is about realizing that all of the donor class, the corporations, the foreign governments, all of them are robbing us blind. But there's a second awakening that's happening, which is that it's not just that they're robbing us, they need a distraction, they need us to look away. It's like a magic trick. If you're looking at where they want you to look, you're looking in the wrong place. Because as they're doing the trick with this hand, they're doing something else with this hand, which is reaching into your wallet and robbing you. So the place where they want you to look is the culture wars. Fight all the immigrants, the Somali guy came in, the guy from Honduras just came in. Oh my God, they're robbing you. No, Wall Street's robbing you. Are you crazy? Oil companies getting 35 billion a year, etc. Right? So that's point number one, that as to why I love this development. Now, secondly, she's right on the substance, Anna. And again, what an amazing moment in American history where the Young Turks, Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson all agree. And we're not agreeing on like the mainstream media would say, oh, the horseshoe theory, they're agreeing on radical things. No, we're agreeing on what the great majority of the American people also believe. Trump won the election.
We don't want war.
Yeah.
Ooh, so radical. Ooh, so dangerous. Yeah, we don't want war. How about that? We want our resources to stay here at home. We want our government to take care of us, the American people, rather than work on behalf of oil companies and private industry and major corporations so they can maximize their profits while we pay for all the risks associated with their businesses.
Yeah, and so all of the left, almost all of the left agrees to that, except our politicians and the people in media. Mainstream media at least. Now a huge percentage of the right agrees with that, and an enormous percentage of independents agree with that. So the whole country is united, and it's not left versus right. It's us versus them, the people in power, the elites, the establishment, etc. So lastly, Anna, the thing that they're both concerned about is exactly what we're concerned about when it comes to Venezuela, which is Trump is now high on his own supply. Right, he thinks he's invincible. They did the Iran operation and we didn't lose anyone, and it was efficient, wonderful tactics. I hate it. I don't want it. I think it's the wrong strategy. But did they carry it out well tactically by the military? Of course they did. Same thing in Venezuela. Unreal how efficient our military is. That doesn't mean that every operation is going to go perfectly. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have to put in ground troops anywhere, right? And it doesn't mean that you could take constant risk, attack any country you like, kidnap any leader, kill anyone you like, and that there's never going to be consequences. No, I'm guaranteeing you right now, we are headed to disaster. Trump thinks he could do anything he wants, and we're this close to a disaster. Well, I could give you a million reasons, including Trump doesn't plan. So they go into a press conference and Rubio and Trump and Hegseth are all saying different things. And then Stephen Miller gets on TV and he says a different thing about who's running the country. Was it to arrest him, or was it war? Was it an attack? What's the plan afterwards? Are we going with the opposition, or are we going with who's left? They didn't even fully plan that before they attacked a sovereign nation. That's crazy. When you don't, like guys, it's like playing a football game without huddling. If you don't huddle and know what the play is, you're gonna run into a disaster. The other team's gonna annihilate you eventually. Not to say Venezuela or Iran is gonna annihilate us. It's to say that we're playing a dangerous game without having any plans. Lastly, Anna, the Venezuelan tanker that left, in the middle of as it was running away from us, and this is one of the tankers, they asked the Russians for permission to put up the Russian flag and become a Russian tanker. And the Russians said yes. And then we attacked and seized the tanker anyway. That is super dangerous. Luckily, the Russians didn't retaliate. They had pulled a sub next to the tanker. If the sub fires because they view it as a Russian tanker, we're not just in a war with Venezuela, etc. All of a sudden, we're in the middle of a war with a nuclear country.
Yep.
No, he's playing with fire. And when you play with fire long enough, you're definitely gonna get burned. And in this case, it's gonna be us, the American citizens, that get burned. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.